Hello and welcome to my menus and UI portfolio piece for Unreal Engine. Um, my main focus of this project was on the pause menu and making sure all of the settings were functional and they're all maximum 3 taps away, as that is the golden number when it comes to menus, as you don't want your players to be going through loads of things as it gets quite complicated and just not fun for anyone, especially because it's settings and they're just not fun generally. However, to show off my capabilities, I went through a whole host of various small UI functions, and this acts as more of a proof of concept rather than a game. That's why it's just in the base area. I will mention that this weapon here, which I made with like a few blocks, was something I was testing, but actually caused the breakage of the entire project. So this is something I would like to come back to, but this is the only thing in here that doesn't work. And so I removed all functionality of it so that it wouldn't break the game. So I'll just click play here. I'll show you everything in the game, how it all works, and then afterwards I'll go and show you through my blueprinting and processes and explain various parts. So I have it open in a separate tab just so the menus work. And something I would also like to point out is that the settings do save in between sessions. So if I was to open this again, the settings would be the exact same as I left them. Not just, well, as opposed to a default, which means if I was to add this into a game, well, it's already working, but if I was to add this into a game, and now I know it's cross device as well, um, then yeah, the players wouldn't have to change every single time. So as you can see in the bottom left, we actually have a functioning minimap, which is rather quite cool. In the top, bottom left, sorry. And then the top left, we have a health bar. There's actually nothing that can hurt me as of yet. So to add functionality, I did add some keys where when F is pressed, I take damage. And when V is pressed, I regain health. Just to show that the progress bar is working, and it's just a simple green bar. The minimap does track me all the way around. However, it won't go past walls or anything because as of right now I'm pushing forward, it's not going outside of the wall. Also, it doesn't display anything out there, and it's top down, but it's not affected by size or scale. These cubes over here are collectibles, and at the top of the screen there'll be a small pop-up when one is picked up. So to pick it up, you simply go close to it, press E, and as you can see it says 1 of 3 collected, 2 of 3 collected, and 3 of 3 collected. And I would just like to point out that it's not just a case of one saying 1 of 3 collected. It doesn't matter what order, they will always come up as the next number. So if I was to pick up the second one first, it wouldn't say 2 of 3 before 1 of 3, it would say 1 of 3. Then if we go into our settings menu, which can be accessed via tab, we have a whole host of settings. So if we were to actually put it into full screen, this is my main issue. It was the window mode being a bit weird, but I'm assuming it's just because of how Unreal Engine opens it. So now I make it windowed, I click apply, it does so. The resolution is the same. Shadows are currently on low. So as you can see, it does look a little weird. There's no shadow for my character, and there aren't many shadows at all. But if I then go and click tab again, and I wrong way, turn this up to extreme and click apply, as you can see, we get all of our shadows back on various little bits, including the character itself. Then texture, we can turn this up. It just actually looks a lot nicer now. It's not overly noticeable, but and there is a definite change. Then we can, there is no foliage as of yet, so this, I can't really prove it works, but it does. And then we can have a frame limit cap, which also works. So in clicking this, as you can see, it is running slower, but for people who have lower end devices, this is vital. And I think this is one of the most important things that I put in. I mean, it's not the most impressive by any means. The minimap looks really nice. I do quite like the shadows as well. But I think this is something a lot of games are forgetting nowadays, which is just being accessible for older devices and things that can't run as well. So yeah, I quite like that one, as that is something that I'm often hit with my device not being able to run things. So I quite like that. We do have an exit to desktop button here, but we also have a quit to main menu, which it should quit to the main menu. There we go. So got play game, new game. There's nothing as of yet, as they are both the same. Options are the same, and exit game. So exit game shuts it. And very quick, I'll just show you that the exit to desktop button in the settings also works. You can open the game from that main menu, but I wanted to show that you can back out to that main menu, which I could have done, but I didn't. I think it's loading. Okay, here we go. So if I was to enter the game, hit tab, exit to desktop, yeah, I've just left the game. I'm not sure what the issue was. I know my device isn't the greatest with Unreal at times, so apologies for that. So in maps, we've just got the main menu and the third person example map, which is this one here. I've just not renamed it. For UI, we have health bar, main menu, minimap, and pause menu. So for health bar, it's quite simply just a widget, and in this widget, I'll show you, there's a progress bar, and very simply, so as you can see, I've just placed a progress bar up here and changed the percent from, well, 1% left to right. I've changed the fill color, and that is quite simply it. The main thing that comes in with this is the links in the third person character blueprint. This is more just a reference that can be edited elsewhere. For the main menu doesn't actually have much going on besides the picture and a few functional buttons. You do actually have a character, as it is a separate level, but it's all invisible. You can't like move around or anything. It's basically just so you can see the main menu. So then if we go into UI, sorry, minimap, I actually really like this. It's really cool. So the idea behind the minimap, which I found really interesting when working on it, is this here, this texture, is actually created from a camera all the way up here that's looking down. As you can see, this is this image that I quickly made up in Paint because my Photoshop was not working. So yeah, you can't see it in game. It doesn't cast a shadow or anything. I've made sure it's all just not visible in game, but they are there. And then what it does is it gets what it sees and turns it into a texture, and then you can apply that texture as an image. So you get this image, you draw the box, and then you change the appearance or the image, sorry, into what is the view from the camera, which is really, really cool, and I like this a lot. I made sure that the size wasn't too big that it's overwhelming, but obviously you want to be able to see it. And in a lot of games that have mini maps, they are just vital. You can't play with, well, you can play without them, but they are very much a necessity. And so you want them to be clear enough that it's not hard to see. Sorry, didn't mean to. So yeah, that's the minimap widget. It's probably my favorite one in here. And then for the pause menu, there's quite a lot going on here. So we have the resume button that obviously just took us back into the game. I did add a blur, background blur, here we go. So that was quite nice. It obviously made it so that it feels more separate to the game and not just a menu being pulled up in your face. And then we've got the text box here for each category. Text box here that changes when the buttons are pressed. And then we've got two buttons, and quite simply, what I did for the arrows is I just use the arrows on the keyboard, or not the arrows, sorry, but it's just a text box, which is pretty funny, honestly. So we have one thing I would say when making this is make sure that you name these text boxes and these arrows. It's very vital, as you can lose track easily and have the wrong buttons doing the wrong thing. And then the exit to desktop and quit to main menu are in a different box down here, so they're separate from this, and obviously I've given them functionality. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of boxes, text boxes and things, but then here we go. So if we go to here, get window mode in full screen. So this is for the window. Yeah, so this is if it's windowed full screen or not, or windowed full screen, or any sort of variation that I had on there. And then if it is, bases it on the text, and then it returns that value. This is for resolution. Okay, so resolution, essentially resolution, right, sorry, this is a int point, yes, so break it apart, go to these two that basically just convert this type of integer node into this type of string. And this is simply done by just attaching it to the area you want it to go to. But this is something you can do as normally if the colors don't match you can't, but you can do it with these two, as it will make this little thing here which converts it. And then it'll change based on the text, or the text string, sorry. So basically whatever text you've set to come up next, it will change based on that. This one is for shadows. Okay, so this one was quite interesting. The others, there's actually some settings where it can do quite a lot of the work for you. Whereas with shadows, and I believe foliage as well, and maybe, well, another one I think. But essentially, you have to put in, well, you have to do it more manually, sorry. So we have the shadow being the selection of things to pick from, which is our thing that we made. And then when you press, it goes through this. So basically I've just set the values as low, low, medium, medium, high, and extreme. But you can type these to be whatever you want, and it will increase or decrease based on whichever of these appears. Oh, not that one yet. So yeah, the foliage was the same. Frame rate was pretty simple. It's just all on a text string, sorry. And then the texture was the same, so I was right. So for our event graph, this is where a lot of the work is. So pause menu, first screen. Unclicked, quit to menu, open level, main menu. Unclicked, exit to desktop, quit game. And unclicked, button resume, set game pause, remove the widget from the parent. So what that means is it removes the pause screen from the player's viewport, and you get your mouse cursor back, essentially, as that's something you have to keep in mind when you're having pause screens. You want to be able to actually have a functioning cursor to select your things with, and then you want that to disappear when you resume the game. Right, okay, let's go down to foliage. So when you click foliage minus, which is the one on the left, it will go up from minimum 0 to maximum 4. So basically, because there were 4 different things for foliage, it will cycle in order between those when you click the key. And then this is connected to down here when you click plus. So what this means is that the foliage, if you click minus, it'll go down. If you click plus, it'll go up. They'll both go up in intervals of 1, and they take it from the same bank of information, which was the foliage one. I think it's not that one, sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry. So basically, they take it from this same bank of information and either add or take away 1 in going up or down that menu. So there were a few that are similar. So again, we've got shadows. We've got the 4 values going up or down 1. Sorry. Windowed type, so full screen or windowed full screen or just not window. And texture was also the same. Frame rate limit. So unclicked frames minus, so if you're going left, you will clamp the number, float's basically a number, and you can go from 30 to 150, and again, this is just saying it's going up or down in intervals. So these are basically the values that it was going up in 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. And resolution, this is the same as the shadows, the foliage, the texture. The ones that are a bit more, you have to do it more manually. Sorry, that would go. The thing with resolution as well, because it didn't have its own like values, or I didn't set any, sorry, you can actually do it on here. So switch on integer, so changing the integer, I missed a bit, sorry. So the integer is the number changing when you're going up and down that menu. So when it switches, it's switching between these values here, these 5 values. So, and I've made it sure that they are actual resolutions that screens use. I've tried to go for more common ones, but because I've gone for 5, there's quite a variety, but it doesn't hurt to have too many than having not enough. So here are the resolution options. But yeah, this is all linked to a resolution index, which is basically something I've just created for this project. It's just a reference, so then when I can use the resolution index reference again later, it refers back to this whole area here with all the different resolutions. And then here on clicked apply button, it'll get the user settings that the user has selected for each of these categories and apply them. So that means that you can just apply one at a time, or you can change multiple and apply all of them at the same time. And then over here we have, this is basically just what it's doing. This is the menu. So this is obviously full screen changing, shadow changing, textures, foliage, frame rate, and screen resolution all changing. Then we go over to here, and then our branches, and then we just go into resolution index. As again, I had to make my own resolution index, which was a reference point for the resolution to work off of. Whereas the others, I could either, as you saw here, I could just type different return nodes. However, yeah, with resolution I couldn't. So this is a second part almost, or first part, or should I say, and this is the second part. Oops. To the resolution index. Okay. So third person BP, blueprints. So we'll quickly just go into the third person character here. There's various parts in here. Just wanted to load that up. So yeah, first of all, we've got collectibles. So basically, as you can see, it was just a box, very simple, and it has a box collision over it. So that basically means when you are overlapping in that box collision, you can then interact with it. So let's look at the blueprint I made for this. So when the E key is pressed, cast to third person game mode, the collectibles left. So what that means is when the E key is pressed and whilst overlapping with the object, it will tell me how many collectibles are left, sorry, and that's what was coming up every time I picked one of the little boxes up. So yeah, oh, yeah, there you can see the collectibles left. And then it adds it to the viewport and it destroys the actor. So it means that the collectible disappears once I've done it, essentially. So on component begin overlap, enable input, on disable input. So this just means that when I'm overlapping it, I can press E to pick it up, then it stops, because you don't want to be able to just pick it up like 4 times and not go around getting all the collectibles. I believe, yep, that is that for that. So for collectibles left, okay, this was quite confusing, I will say. Where was it? I've lost it. But essentially, I had to type out a certain sort of like command or string of code, not code, but to make sure that it changed based on how many or the quantity I'd picked up rather than just each one having its own thing to say. Otherwise, like I said earlier, someone could pick up the third one first and it would say 3 out of 3 collected when you've only collected 1. And obviously that would lead to a lot of confusion for players and just wouldn't be good in general. So also, it helps to know these things for when I want to make more complex games, which is now, but yeah. So that is that. I was hoping to be able to find it, but I can't find it. Then we look at so yeah, the interact with weapon and the the weapon itself are the things that will break in my game. As I was trying to add a holster point on the character, and for some reason that was crashing with the camera. It just was not going great. So the health bar we've already seen, so let's go back to third person character. So these are the these here, sorry, these are what you get when you just first start up a first person, not first person, third person, sorry, game mode. So over here we've got tab. It's a flip-flop. This is very key as this actually, for some reason, took me a while to figure out. I forgot flip-flop was a thing, and I'm very glad it is a thing. So essentially, that means that when you press tab, it'll do the first thing. Then when you press it again, it'll do the second thing. So when you press it the first time, it creates the widget. It adds it to your viewport. It sets the game to pause, so I'll pause the game and I add the blur. Then it'll enable your mouse cursor and you can interact with the menu. Then when tab is pressed again, it removes it from the parent, which is the third person character, so it removes it from your viewport. Set game paused. This time it's not checked, which means it's now not paused, and show the mouse cursor, but again it's not ticked, which means it removes it. Then this was one that I was working on, which yeah, as you can see, this was before I got flip-flop. It wasn't working very well. But I kept this in. Obviously, it's not connected, otherwise they break the game. But I think it's pretty interesting, and it's nice to keep if it doesn't take up all my space. Over here, we have health and damage. So this was event begin play. It creates the widget. It creates the widget for the character, for the third-person character. You get your reference and it adds it to your viewport, and then just simple commands. When F's pressed, take away 10 from the value of 100 that I set as the health, and when V is pressed, you add 10 to that value. And obviously that means the progress bar will go up and down. And then up here was the weapon thing that I was working on that didn't quite work out. Yeah, I should probably show this. So over here, as you can see, got the camera way up there. The image, so that's the paper sprite, got the minimap. Spring arm, which means that it's connected to the character so it doesn't get left behind. So that's just a final part on the minimap there. So they are my, this is my walkthrough, sorry, should I say, of my UI, my menus. I would probably say some of the hardest parts was getting the collectibles left to actually change based on how many you picked up rather than which you picked up and where you picked it up from. The minimap was a little confusing at first, but I did get my head around that. And yeah, if you have any improvements, suggestions, changes, or want to know anything about how to fix it for yourself, please let me know and I'll try my best to help, or I'll try my best to create something, as I want to make the best games as I possibly can in Unreal, and I really enjoy it. So anything given to me would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this. I hope you liked what you saw.